We're holding page Tzadik. It's not a parsha, rather it's Miggilat Esther. And the Alter Rebbe has close to 10 pages of maamerim dedicated to Miggilat Esther. And the first maamer begins, Yaviu levush malchus, asher lavash by Amelech. Let them bring him regal garments in which the king himself wears. V'sus asher rachav alav Amelech. And the horse in which the king himself rides upon, and to coronate him with the crown of kingship on his head. Who is speaking here? This is Haman's words to Achashverosh. When Achashverosh discovers that Mordechai had saved him and he couldn't sleep all night, they bring him the books. So he says, perfect, Haman, my viceroy, will help me devise a plan to gift and to reward Mordechai. Meanwhile, the narcissist Haman thinks it's about himself, and therefore he begins, and in his fiending for the kingship, begins to describe what he would really want and how he would really see himself. So this is a quote straight from Haman. Yaviu levush malchus, let them bring him royal garments. We know, euphemistically, that any times it says Hamelech in the Megillah, it's a euphemism, it's an expression for Hashem. Therefore, the notion of levush malchus, the garments of kingship, is really an expression of what David Melech says, Hashem malach ge'uz lavesh. Hashem is a king, and he garbs himself he garbs himself in grandeur. That Hashem, in order to be king of the world, has to garb himself in garments, in grandeur garments, in beautiful garments. So now we've correlated the idea of levush malchus. So levush malchus is what? Is not a physical garment of regality. Rather, it's Hashem. We don't know what this garment is, but it's Hashem, in order to communicate or have some type of relationship with the world, has to dress himself and clothe himself. Hashem malach, in order for God to be a king, ge'us lavesh, he has to wear garments of grandeur. Visus, what does horse mean? Asher rachav alav hamelech, in which the king rides upon, hu inin mashakasu, is correlated to what it's written by Matan Torah regarding Matan Torah, Yehshua. For you ride upon your horses chariots of salvation. Okay, that's also an idea of Hashem. What does it mean to ride? Right, you lower yourself and to sit upon the chariot on the sus. Yeshua brings salvation. What is the third idea of coronating that Haman in his mind thinks that he wants to have the crown on himself? What does it mean to coronate? What it says regarding Hashem, the crown in which his mother crowned him on the day of his wedding. Matan Torah. When is the day of the wedding between Hashem and the Jewish people? That's Matan Torah. And there was a coronation in which his mother crowned him. Again, all of these are poetic expressions of referring to Hashem. So now we see that all revelations that occurred by Matan Torah were re-revealed in Purim time. We made Mordechai in the times of Mordechai. How do we know? Because there's a clear pasuk that says, and the Jewish people accepted, or we'll use the word re-accepted, what they began to do. When did they begin to do what? To do Yiddishkeit, to do Judaism. When did they accept to do Judaism? When was their asher heichelu lasa, is the beginning, the emergence of their actions? Ki b'matan Torah she'amru Yisrael na'aseh v'nishma. So we correlate the words v'kibel haYehudim es asher heichelu la'asos with the words asher she'amru Yisrael na'aseh v'nishma. Heichelu la'asos, they began to do it then. Shahaya rak aschala, which implies that there was only the beginning of action. O b'mei Mordechai haya gmar hakabala. However, the times of Mordechai, thank you so much, it was the completion of the reception. How do we know? V'kibel haYehudim. Now the Jews absorbed, accepted, became receptive to that which they began to do by Matan Torah. So what do we have? Such a small paragraph, very compact. So we have a pasuk, and the pasuk is describing 3 descriptions of the way Haman wants to be treated by the king. Really, this is all euphemistically connected to Hashem and how he communicates with creation. 1, through a levush, through a garment. 2, through a sus, through a horse. And 3, through a crown. Those are the 3 descriptions. And we said all of them are references to Matan Torah, in which the revelation or the revelation of what occurred by Matan Torah happened again in a more absorbent and a more integrated manner by Purim. So let's explain these ideas. Right? They're abstract, meaning what does it really mean that Hashem wears a garment, that Hashem wears a crown, that Hashem needs to ride on a horse. To expound on these ideas, we first must preface what our sages say, that the whole purpose of wisdom, the whole execution of one's wisdom, Teshuvah Ma'asim Tovim, is manifest in the returning of a person to Hashem and his good deeds. Shenemar, as we know, as it says, Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem, that the beginning of all wisdom is the fear of Hashem, the reverence of Hashem. Seichel Tov l'chol eisayim, right? Good wisdom to all those who do it. Leloim deim leinemar chuli, right? Elalei eisayim. So what does it mean? The beginning of wisdom is those who fear Hashem. Seichel Tov, a good intellect. Lechol eisayim, to those who perform it. The pasuk should have said, the Gemara asked, what does it mean, l'chol eisayim? A good intellect for those who perform it. Intellect is not performed. Intellect is studied. Intellect is grasped. Intellect is comprehended. So it should have said, le'loim deim. But it doesn't say, le'loim deim, le'nemar. It doesn't say to those who learn it. It's not a good, Torah is not good intelligence to those who learn it. Rather, it's to those who do it. And a person who has the intention to learn and removes himself from action, it's better, it's more befitting for him that his shilya, his afterbirth is switched over, is reversed. There's a whole deeper message. Dafka why? What's the Indian of the shilya? I think, from what I recall, nehafcha shliyas al panav, that what is the shilya? What is the afterbirth? The placenta, right? Is the chitzonius, right? So meaning to say, because you only had the intention to learn, right, and you didn't have an effect. And what is learning? Learning is all pnimius. And if you don't have an effect on the outside world, mida keneged mida, your shilya, that which is only bechitzonius, gets reversed, gets flipped over. Mashu kazeh. Meaning it's befitting for the person who only has intention to affect. You'll say what? I'm affecting the pnimius of the world when I learn Torah. But if I have the intention to only affect the pnimius, even the pnimius won't get revealed. Why? Because the whole purpose of the learning is the action. Right? Reishis chachma yiras Hashem. Tachlis chachma teshuvah ma'asim tovim. Hold on. When are we speaking about this? Specifically regarding a mitzvah that cannot be performed by others. Regarding a mitzvah that can be performed by others, the sages say, all those who desire will not will not be equal to you. Yeah, will not reach you, will not be equal to you. Afilu chafetzim shamayim shekol ha-mitzvahs einam sha'ah. Afilu chafetzim shamayim v'chol chafetzim lo yishvu literally means all those who yearn, who crave for you, lo yishvu it cannot equate. Yeah, which means afilu chafetzim shamayim, even those who yearn for heaven, right? Even those the yearners, those who pine and long for revelation. Which is what? Which is really an expression. So v'chol chafetzim, all really no chafetzim, not only yearners. Now you could say all objects, right? Chafetz, right? Is incomparable to you. So what are the objects of God? The mitzvahs. Cheftzei shamayim, right? The objects of heaven. Shekol mitzvahs. Even though you are fulfilling mitzvahs, hold on, we have another contradictory result that says, they are incomparable to even one word of Torah. Because there's an advantageous quality to the words of Torah, even on the fulfillment of mitzvahs. What's the proof? That if mitzvahs were so high, then you should never learn, because you should always be doing a mitzvah. When do you need to do a mitzvah? When nobody else can do it. So what does that show? That shows that there's a qualitative advantage to the learning of Torah in which a mitzvah cannot achieve. Hold on, then you can go the opposite way and say there's an advantageous quality to mitzvahs over learning Torah, because at the end of the day you have to close the book if nobody else can do it. So which one is which?
But chafetzim isn't being specific if it's mitzvahs or Torah.
Say again, what?
Is chafetzim lo yishvu ba?
No, that's what he's saying. The Razal say, what's chafetzim lo yishvu ba? Cheftzei shamayim. Cheftzei shamayim is mitzvahs. Afilu cheftzei shamayim, right? Shekolam einam shavim afilu davar echad b'divrei Torah. Even one word. All mitzvahs are incomparable to one word of Torah. So again, we're having the back and forth, and we realize that there is a constant dance between what is higher, what is deeper. So now the Alter Rebbe is going to explain. I'm going to tell you what's the maila of kiyum mitzvahs first, right? Even though we know that we realize that divrei Torah has an advantageous quality over mitzvahs, let me explain to you why mitzvahs is better. Based on what we just said, we have three different places. So first, let's explain how mitzvahs are deeper, are higher than Torah. The idea is, Chachma Batzilus is the beginning of all of Ishtalshalus. The full spectrum of reality, the beginning is Chachma. So when you say Reishis Chachma, you're not only speaking about the beginning of mortal wisdom, you're speaking about the beginning of all of existence, starting from Chachma Batzilus. O Bechinas HaIshtalshalus, and the notion, the experience of Ishtalshalus, he keshalsheles mehar betabayis achoizos zu bezu. What is Ishtalshalus? Why do we call Ishtalshalus? Because it's like a shalsheles, a chain, in which, what is a chain? In which the rings are oiches, are attached, are interwoven with each other. So if we're saying that, then we must say that Chachma, the first sphera, which is the conception of all of reality, is still limited to the rest of the reality that is created. So to Chachma, again, even though it's Reishis, even though it's the beginning, nevertheless, it's still within the spectrum of Ishtalshalus. Shemimen and Ishtalshalu Amidos. That from Chachma is branched off the emotional qualities. And Chachma itself becomes enclosed in it, it becomes integrated in it. And the midas become enclosed in thought, speech, and speech into action. Even though we know there's a pasuk that says Chachma, from where do you come from? Don't read Chachma, mortal wisdom, rather Chachma, the first sphera. It's not a question, it's a statement. Chachma, you want to know where Chachma comes from? Chachma comes from a level of ayin. Chachma ma'ayin timatzei. Chachma, from where do you come from? No. Chachma, you come from a level of ayin, which we know ayin is keser. And Chachma, which is from ayin, is the beginning and root of all of existence, of all of Ishtalshalus. Im kol zeh, nevertheless, biyoisa nikra reishis hagilui, being that she, her, Chachma, is called the beginning of revelation. Hareyesh la shniya ushlishis shegam arishein nimnis minaminyan limnois achareha sheinis ushlishis. At the end of the day, even though she's called the beginning, one, by definition, implies 2, 3, and 4. 2 and 3. Therefore, even the beginning, the conception of Ishtalshalus is still stuck, is still within the limits and conditions of Ishtalshalus. Therefore, Avraham, who personified the faculty of chesed, of kindness, Nikra Ever Ma. Avraham is the same letters as Ever Ma, the limb of Ma. What's Ma? The limb of what? What's the limb of what? A limb that is so nullified and its ego is so suspended that it has the opportunity or ability to connect to the ma of existence, which is not limited. It's his whole being. Avram's whole being is an aver ma. Hold on. But you just told me he's chesed. So how is he chesed on the one hand and aver ma, a nullified limb on the other hand? Because at the end of the day, every single midah stems and is extension of chachma. And chachma is the idea of the bittul, the self-nullification and the suspension of ego that is able to bring existence into being. So therefore, in every single midah, even though yes, the midah is prominent and the midah expresses itself in a way that I'm chesed, I'm gvura, I'm tiferes, nevertheless, it is still woven and integrated in it the power of chachma. That he is a limb and a vessel to enclose the chachma, which is koyachma, the power of non-existence, the power of the light that is higher than vessel. Chachma itself becomes enclosed into the emotions. Therefore, chachma, from where do you come from? Or chachma, you come from a level of ayin. You come from ayin, but you're not literally ayin. There's still a little bit of a yeshus there. There's still a little bit of a vestige of personality. Moshe Rabbeinu himself, he also personified this incredible nullification and suspension of ego. He literally was the ayin. So chachma v'atzilus is koyachma, chachma me'ayin timatzeh. Moshe Rabbeinu's v'nachnu ma, we literally are ma. We literally are this undefined identity, a personality that is so one with Hashem. The haynu b'chinas ayin mamish, she's literally ayin. Amar, therefore, he's able to say kvad peh ukvad lashon anoichi. I'm hard of mouth. I'm a stutterer, and hard of tongue. Right. So what does this mean? Kvad peh legabik Torah shabal peh. Ukvad lashon b'Torah shebichsav. Shehaisa madrigas nishmasi l'mayla mibichnas haTorah. Doirais michachma nafkis. She bichnas reishis v'islapshus oritza baruchu sheba. You hear what he's saying? Who bichnas mimal kol almin kesei dishtashlush v'zeh shemislabish bichnas almin b'chol olam lefi madrigasei. Oh. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying what? Kvad peh ukvad lashon anoichi. My being, my existence, supersedes even the level of peh and lashon. What's peh and lashon? Mouth and tongue. Peh is Torah shabal peh, and lashon, tongue, is Torah shebichsav. These are expressions. They're implying shahaisa madregas kvad. Kvad means heavy, right? But it also means covered. No? Honorable. My honor, my being, my glory is higher than the lashon and higher than the peh. Right? My being is even greater than Torah shebichsav, Torah shabal peh. Nishmasid l'mayla. My neshama is even higher from the level of Torah. Why? Because we know that oiraisa mi chachma nafkis. Chachma, which is a euphemism for Torah, right? Torah mi chachma nafkis. Nafkis, no, what do you say in the Gemara? Puk, right?
Yeah,
no, puk, go out, yeah, right? So mi chachma nafkis, it emerges from chachma, and Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, kvad peh, kvad lashon anoichi. How are you choosing me to give Torah? I'm higher than Torah. And Torah, at the end of the day, is still the wisdom of God. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, I am literally elokus, I am godliness. My ego is so suspended that how can I? Because Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, you're choosing me to become separate from you. The moment that I become the giver of Torah, I imply, Vaidaber Hashem, El Moshe Lemor. But prior to that, there was no Moshe. There was just Hashem. And Moshe perceived himself. It says in the other maamer in Parsha Shmois, he was from Olam HaToyu, right? The Oiris, which is higher than Kalim. What's Torah? Torah is all about Kalim. So Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, Kvad peh, kvad lashon, anoichi. I'm connected to the anoichi. Anoichi, which is deeper than the peh and the lashon. So why are you telling me to go down? Why are you telling me to limit myself to a fixed identity when my identity is what? It's really Elokus, it's really Hashem. She beginnets reishis veislabshus or in so baruchu sheba hu beginnets memal kol almin kesei der ishtalshalus shemislabish beginnets almin bechol olam lefi madrigasei. In which what? At the end of the day, it's the orange of the infinite light of Hashem that becomes compacted and packaged, that the Torah can actually affect the world in a way that the Torah is integrated into the world. Memal kol almin. which b'malach haolam we know is the light that is specified and tailor-made to the particulars of creation. However, the illumination of the infinite light, again, what we just described is the wisdom of Torah. What do we just say? No, what do we say in the last 10 lines? The wisdom of Torah, as deep, as sophisticated, as profound as it is limited and relegated to the first sphera called Chachma. And at the end of the day, Chachma is only me'ayin timatzeh. It's not ayin mamish. It's only likened or emerging from the level of ayin. It's not literally ayin. It's still a little bit of yesh. And being that's a little bit of yesh, again, the idea of aver ma, and the idea of enclothing in the midos, at the end of the day, it takes the world into account. You can't have the notion of Torah without the idea of knowing the parameters and conditions of the physical world. However, the illumination that is achieved through the drawing down of the infinite light, b'maisa mitzvahs, in the action of the mitzvahs, gashmias, specifically physical mitzvahs, trumas or maisers, whether you're giving truma or 10%, who b'bechinas soiviv kol almin, triggers, stimulates a level of godliness called soiviv kol almin. What is that? The transcendent light that is not limited to the capacity of your own mind. When are you fulfilling the mitzvah of Talmud Torah or Limud Torah? When your mind understands it. When am I fulfilling the mitzvah of tefillin? My mind doesn't have to understand it at all. Give tzedakah, my mind doesn't have to understand anything. The moment that we circumvent the system of intellect, we go into a deeper realm called Sovev Kol Almin. That is not in a manner of normative precipitation, in a way that you're going from level to level, rather the idea of skipping over. Like it's written, Kol doidi doifek, my voice, the voice of my beloved, is knocking, and she skips over the mountains. What does it mean to skip over the mountains? Mountains are two things. Mountains are hishtalshalus itself, and mountains, it also says the euphemism for mountains, it says, medalig al harim, mekapetz al gvais. Who are the harim? Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Who are the gvais? Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. So what does it mean? Al pi Kabbalah, medalig al harim, the voice of my beloved, which again is manifest in the Maisa Mitzvahs, skips over the harim, skips over the emotions of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov teach you that what? That Judaism is only emotionally based. If I am to do Judaism properly, you have to have chesed, you have to have gvura, you have to have tiferes, you have to have love, you have to have reverence. What does Maisa Mitzvahs teach you? You don't need any of that. At the end of the day, how do I trigger the voice of my beloved? Mekapetz aleharim. Medalig aleharim. She skips over the thought that you need to connect to God in an emotional way of connecting to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Why? Because at the end of the day, the glimmer of Ein Sof is not literally enclosed or invested in the physical things. It's not like it's not that a glimmer of the infinite light is enclosed in the physical things when you do the physical mitzvahs, like the chachma that is enclosed in midas and midas in machshava. Oh, what's he saying? Chachma, at the end of the day, in order to actually make it tangible and real for you, it has to affect your whole system. It has to affect your whole entire personality. Whereas mitzvahs, because it's so deep and because the light is so profound, it's not limited to the physical mitzvah itself, the physicality of the mitzvah itself. Meaning, the fact that I can't get everything implies that I can get everything. Does that make sense? The fact that I don't know what's happening implies that I'm able to connect more essentially to Hashem. Whereas the moment that I think I understand, which is in the realm of Torah, when Chachma has to be fully enclosed in Midos, then I only have this.
You're limited.
I'm limited to only this. The Indian idea is, he's going to explain. How's that so? Let's read the line one more time. The idea of makif, sovev kol almin, is specifically that I'm not there. In the learning of Torah, I have to fully be there. And if I'm fully there, if I'm fully present, and I'm fully focused, then I cannot diverge my focus for even one moment. I have to fully be there. What am I missing though? I'm missing the essence. So in the mitzvahs you have the ha'ara of the essence. In Torah you have the full light. But the full light is not the essence. That makes sense. The idea is who ki im hayisahab shachas in sof shebesech almin rak bederech ispashtus veislapshus bebeginnes memalakol almin besedish tashus bederech ilve alol. If you would try to transmit the infinite light of Hashem within the worlds in a manner of ispashtus veislapshus. What's ispashtus veislapshus? In a manner of integration and full enclothing. That means that you have the full thing. So let's see what's a good mashal. Yeah. Unlike the light of the sun, that when I am appreciating sunlight, I don't have the full sun, right? Whereas in Chassidus you have the difference between hashpa, shefa, and or. Okay. So from what I'm gaining is memala kol almin is shefa, and soiviv kol almin is or. What's the difference? Shefa, the example of shefa, is a fruit off a tree. Okay? The fruit of a tree, you have the full fruit. It's not like once I pluck it off, the whole purpose of the tree is achieved. It's not like I can just have a glimpse or a glimmer or a radiance of the tree. The full purpose of the tree is achieved in this one pluck, in this one fruit. Whereas sunlight, I'm gaining, I'm basking, I'm appreciating the light of the sun, but I don't have the source at all. Whereas the tree itself is a different texture, is a different substance than what it gives off. It's not like the bark of the tree, you pluck off bark, right? You have the bark, you have the roots, you have the leaves, but at the end of the day, what's the shefa of the tree? The moment that I have the shefa, I have the whole thing, right? That's why we say in the relationship between mashpia and mekabel. What's the idea? Oh, he's your mashpia. Because your mashpia, you have to have full access to. He gives you full shefa. If he's only a ma'or, he only gives you a ha'ara. Ha'ara means that there's so much more to give. Understand? Yeah. So in the realm of chachma is the idea of shefa, not the idea of or. When I'm giving you wisdom, even though I may have much, much more, at the end of the day, all of it should be attainable. One day, the best type of teacher is that I want to give you my whole essence. Right? At the end of the day, the teacher has the humility to know that the student can totally take over the teacher's wisdom. Right? That's the pleasure of the teacher. That's why he's called a mashpia. Or ha'ara or ma'or doesn't work that way. Ha'ara of the ma'or just is. There's no agenda. The agenda of the teacher, when are you a student? When am I a teacher? When you're a student. When you actually understand and grasp. You could be sitting at a person's class for 10 years, and if you don't understand anything, you're not their student, even though physically you're there. You're a student when you fully grasp the thing. So chachma is limited to the categorization of shefa. And therefore, just read the words. If the infinite light would be framed within creation in a manner of integration, again the idea of shefa, I now have the full fruit in my hand. I don't just have a ha'ara, a glimmer or a radiance of the fruit. It's the whole fruit. In a manner of cause and effect. The created beings would not be able to exist. Rather, they would be nullified out of their existence, because it's the idea of shefa, not the idea of art. Memala kalamin would mean that if you're in this framework of existence, there is no existence. You have the whole thing. Being that it's called chachma, it's still some type of frameable entity. It's categorizable. It has a label to it. To the point that we say that it's chachma, not bina. It's chachma, not chesed. It's chachma, not arin sof. And this would not be the true expression of the infinite light. Because at the end of the day, the infinite light is literally its name, infinite light. Ein loy soif, it has no end canal, as we said above. And therefore, the moment that you try and package it in Chachma, you're not Ein Sof. It's not Ein Sof anymore. It's a limitation of the Ein Sof light. Rather, it's included in its